Hey everyone, this is Jessica from Branwyns Herbs. Everyone keeps asking me to post photos of the plants that we have, but there are so very many that I decided to just do a video of them. What I'm standing in front of here is a peach tree. One of two different kinds we have. These are peaches. We also have a white peach tree. And when they're ripe, we sell them for $2 a pound, which is about 8 peaches. Here we have a rose of Sharon. It has yet to bloom. It should be bloomed by next week. And then we have Gardenia. Here are some tiger lilies. We also have day lilies that are more of a cream sickle color. Behind that, as you can see over here, is lemon balm, black peppermint. We also sell these Japanese maples. Of course, ours are cuttings, so they're smaller. They're not this large, but they will certainly get that large extremely quickly. We sell this purple color of butterfly bush, and there's one at the back of the lawn that is more of a fuchsia color. I'll get to that shortly. Here we have chocolate mint, which smells like peppermint patties. We have all kinds of different sunflowers. This is a spider plant, which is nowhere near as large. That's a cutting we took 2 weeks ago. We've got Feverfew, which grows like this. That's extremely good for headaches. Again, we do focus primarily on medicinal and culinary herbs, but we do also have flowers. Here's some portulaca. You can actually eat that. It provides vitamin C. This with these gorgeous flowers is called Marshmallow. Then in behind that we have lavender. That's an English lavender. We also have a Munstead lavender. Both of those can use for medicinal purposes. Then we have catnip. It's flowering now, which of course cats love. It also is really good for a sleep aid if you make a tea out of it. Strawberries. Here's a different kind of sunflower. More catnip. There's wormwood, which grows profusely. Back here we have Italian parsley, which I just had to cut back because it was trying to reseed. There's oregano and another kind of sunflower. That little bush you see in the middle of the screen there is lion's tail. It gets bright orange flowers on it with spikes on them. It's also a medicinal herb, by the way. This is comfrey, and if you see, it has little bell-shaped purple flowers. It's actually going to seed right now. This is a parsley that is triple curled dark green parsley. We have lime balm. If you heard me earlier, I had mentioned lemon balm. They grow approximately the same. They reseed heavily, and they smell like heaven. Here we have yellow dotted mint. It has yet to bloom, but it should by the end of this week. This is an avocado tree. They will grow around here in the winter. Sometimes it's good to cover them if it's going to be a harsh, cold winter under 10 degrees. But they can live usually around North Carolina to probably around 20 degrees. These are planters that we sell with flowers. They should bloom next week. We sell those for $20 each after they've bloomed. Of course, you can buy them before then. $20 each, or 3 for $50 instead of $60. Here we have white Horehound. If you've ever heard of Horehound candy that our grandparents used to make, that's good for sore throats and things. This is a medicinal herb called rue. We have a Jimson weed back here. I have some bigger ones, but they're like angel trumpets. They're kin to angel trumpets. And they are extremely poisonous. So I wouldn't advise you to mess with them. This is figwort, and I'll try to get up on the flower. You can see what the flowers look like here up close. It reseeds heavily. That's a medicinal herb. Here we have a bee balm. This is lavender bee balm. If you can see down in there, it looks like it's about to bloom. I don't have any red bee balm this year, but we do have the lavender, and then we have a lemon, one that smells more like lemons. Here's a sage, regular thyme. Here we have a barbecue rosemary, which is having issues growing because we never expected this chamomile to get so big. Usually it doesn't do that, but we take extremely good care of our plants. Here's another thyme. As you can see, it's blooming. Okra that we just planted. This plant is known as borage. Here's a Munstead Lavender. It hasn't bloomed yet. It smells delicious though. Here's a sage that has bloomed with this purple flower. And then behind it is Foxglove. That's purple Foxglove. We have corn, garlic chives. They reseed heavily, as do chives, normal chives. And then behind it is a Thai hybrid pepper. We love hot peppers. Then here's a small cilantro. We'll have to cut the seed heads off of that because it's trying to seed and it's too small for that. This is Clary Sage. It actually has different medicinal properties than normal sage. A lot of older people swear by this plant and suggest it's good for about everything known to man. Here's another marshmallow that has not yet flowered. And why it is so big is beyond us. It must have really good soil. Here's another marshmallow, and then behind it is some more wormwood. And then here is our Mammoth Fennel plant that we sell. This plant is actually 5 years old, and it's been planted outside for all 5 years. So apparently, unlike dill, which we also grow, dill tends to die off every year, but apparently fennel can live for a long time because she's 5 years old. And you can see how much fennel you can get off of that if you're a fennel fanatic like I am. It kind of has an anise flavor. Back here is costmary. Some people call that Bible herb because a lot of older people used to use the leaves of it. It smells like licorice to me kind of too, but you can also make a tea out of it. If you can see the leaves, they used to use those as bookmarks for their Bibles. Here we have a wood betony, yarrow. The only yarrow that we grow is the medicinal white variety. We do not grow all of the colors because some of them tend to not be medicinal. Here's Motherwort. You can see the flower on that. Back here we have a mountain mint. If you're looking for a mint, I would suggest either black peppermint. Mountain mint just happens to be my favorite besides bergamot mint or bee balm. That's what they also call bergamot. Because the scent is tremendous and the flavor is outstanding. Then over here we have lemon thyme. It smells just like lemon pledge. We have a little Mexican tarragon. Actually, we only have 3 of those left. Eggplant. This acorn squash we've never grown before. We thought that it was supposed to be more like a bell pepper plant and grow tall, but apparently it's going to turn into a vine, which we're not real thrilled about. Because these vines on this property, for some reason, tend to take over. We had pumpkins last year that took over. It was growing out of these trees, literally. The pumpkin plants were literally climbing these trees. So the soil here must be just amazing for them. Back there is a honeydew. We have a lot of those. There's several different kinds of cucumbers. More corn. Can't get enough corn. More squash. And you'll just have to follow me around the property. From this angle, those are blueberry bushes there. I'll get a close-up of them in a moment. That mimosa tree just turned 4 years old. And it was about half that size after the first year. When it was a year old, it was about half that size. That's a touch me not mimosa, and we cannot keep those because people want them. When you touch the leaves of it, they shrivel up, but then they'll pop back out. They don't like being touched. There's the blueberries. The other butterfly bush is here. You can see that. This is my favorite. I actually gave these to my sister because she has more property than I do. Over here we have one of our tomato varieties. That's Rutgers. Here are crimson sweet watermelons. We actually had to move those over here because for some reason they weren't getting enough sun. A lot of these plants that we grow in pots like this, we have to keep shaded because cucumbers, squash, any vegetable like that, just if it's in sunlight, it's going to grow twice its size in hours. So we try to keep them in the shade so that they don't take over the pot too quickly. Watermelon. Here's some muncher cucumbers. Sumter cucumbers are the little, they're not white. We also have the little white cucumbers, but Sumter are green. They're not white, but they look identical. Cayenne pepper. We have a lot of that. I insist on growing that because everybody loves cayenne pepper. But like I said, we do specialize in peppers and medicinal herbs and things like that. Anise basil. That's the first year we've grown that. Let's see what it smells like. Let's see if it smells like anise. And yes, it does. It smells just like licorice. That has an amazing scent. We also have an anise hyssop, and we also grow anise itself, which is kind of kin to fennel and dill. This is a sumac tree. A lot of chefs love this because when you dry it and grind it up, the leaves, it has a lemon flavor that it adds to food. I'll get a good shot of the back here. This is ginger root. That, I can't tell you how many things it's good for. It's ginger like you grow in the grocery store, but these are the actual plants. Purple heart. These they grow profusely. Once these come out of these pots, they're going to take over a large portion of your property, and they come back every year. But they get bright fuchsia colored flowers on them. They're gorgeous. We have one calla lily left, and this one is lilac colored. This hibiscus, I don't know what color it is. It hasn't bloomed yet. This is a key lime tree, which actually grows key limes like you buy in the grocery store. We have several of those. Most of them are smaller because we do have them in the shade. If you plant them outside, you have to cover them during the winter here. We tried to grow one outside without covering it. It lived through the winter, but when spring came and it got hot again, it died. I'm going to go back around this way. Try to take you through all the pots that we have before I go and explain the other plant. There's a Big Mac's pumpkin. Those pumpkins get huge. That's what took over our yard last year. Poblano Peppers. This year I decided to split up marigolds because some people like orange, some people like yellow, some people like both. So we split the orange and the yellow. I bought different seed packs so I could tell which was which, because some people don't like one of the other colors. These are the Hummingbird Vine, or it's also called Cardinal Vine, that we can never keep in. We sell these for $3 each, or 4 for $10. And they reseed profusely. Once you buy a couple plants, you'll never have to buy it again. And you can share your seeds with all your friends. Birdhouse Gourds. Here is normal big leaf culinary basil. That's also a medicinal herb. We have a lot more of that. These are just things we've recently transplanted. Forsythia, or yellow bell bush, believe it or not, is also an herb. That's why, and it's easy to grow. You can break a stick off of it and grow. Just stick it in the ground. You don't have to do anything special with it. Here we have cherry tomatoes. These tomato plants like this, we sell for $5 each. The big ones, like this. Or 5 for $20 instead of $25. So you're actually getting one free if you buy 5. Zucchini, the same story with that, same price. Butternut squash, acorn squash, they're at the same price. I have one grapefruit mint left. It kind of looks like apple mint, but it smells more like a grapefruit. At the back, those empty pots that you can see are black tulip bulbs. If you want them to bloom this year, you can put them in your freezer for probably a month and then plant them outside and they'll come back. But if you want to just buy them to plant in the ground and wait until next spring, they will come back. But the pots look empty because the greenery on them has died. There's zinnia. We have alyssum, We have a white alyssum and a pink alyssum. Then we have cosmos. There's coleus. These are bachelor buttons. They've not bloomed yet. I have one over here that has bloomed I can show you. This is all heel, which is an herb. It gets a dark purple flower spike on it. But once you've planted it, ultimately you cannot get rid of it because it reseeds heavily, and if you look at it, you can see that anywhere it touches the ground, it grows roots. So it's almost impossible to get rid of. These are some coxcomb that we transplanted yesterday. They'll be huge in a week. Those are normal onions, bunch onions. And then there's garlic chives behind that, which we also keep in the shade. Here's anise that we have to work on transplanting. This is all eggplant through here. In pots. We have Anaheim Peppers. And we do keep our peppers in the shade. I'll show you some. I believe I've got some that they're not out here. I thought I had some out here. Peppers we keep in the shade because, like this squash that's been in the sun and that squash that has been in the sun for 1 week, they were this big last week, this small, 3 little leaves. And in 1 week, they're this big. And that's why we tend to keep them in the shade. Here we have dandelion, which may sound odd, but it is actually a medicinal herb. And it's actually very beneficial for a lot of things. It provides iron, among other things, potassium. It's better if you don't dig it up out of your yard, which you can do. It's better to have a plant of it. That way it's not contaminated by all kinds of other things. Here we have Anaheim peppers as well. There's some big ones we're going to have to transplant soon. Licorice. Licorice turns into a bush, and yes, it will survive around here. But you can't really harvest the root of it and actually get licorice until it's 2 or 3 years old. They suggest 3 years, but you can do it at 2. Purple basil. This is holy basil, and it smells like Fruit Loops. People buy that just for the scent. But it also, if you put it into water, it takes the fluoride out of the water. And it has many other health benefits. That's an Indian plant, medicinal herb. This is a new basil. It's called Spicy Globe Basil. No, it's called Spicy Bush Basil. Let's see what it tastes like. Yeah, it's spicy, alright. It kind of tastes like it has cayenne pepper on it. I've never experienced that before. That's really good. And it really is spicy. More holy basil. Columbine. If you don't know what the flower on that looks like, I apologize because these haven't bloomed yet. But look the flower up on that if you don't know what it looks like. Gooseberries. These are Cape gooseberries. We have a limited amount of those. Last year we couldn't keep those in. We've got orange habanero back there. They're kind of small because they're not as much sunlight. There's sugar baby watermelons. I don't know why they're over here instead of with the other watermelons, but we'll fix that soon. These are fuchsia plants. There's a photo of those on our page. We can't keep those in either. They're more of a mountain plant. They like the shade and maybe a couple of hours of sunlight or filtered sun. But they did live through the winter. We kept them in the greenhouse, which got down to 20 degrees, and they still came back this year, which I was shocked about, honestly. Blood sorrel is that one at the back. Cat grass is in front of it. And there's a wood betony that's about to bloom there. The blood sorrel, you can never get rid of either. I've dug mine up for years, and every year, if there's one root in the ground, it will come back. And it's also edible. Here we have a small feverfew, not like that big one up front. There's the anise hyssop. I have to keep that in the shade because it will bust out if I don't. Give me 1 second, guys. I've got a phone call. And I'll be right back.